everyone, my name is Masterstarman, and welcome back for more Let's Play D coming at ya! Nah, we're playing Kirby Triple Deluxe D Tour mode here, and I guess I forgot to get these last time. Okay, we got Thud, Sword Kirby, Sword Kirby, Cruiser, and that was it we got. Okay, I guess we only got those 3 keychains there. We're continuing through King Dedede's D Tour mode here, which is replaying this entire game as the king himself here. And in this part, well, we're going to be continuing on here, starting off Old Odyssey here, which is probably my favorite world in this game, so let's go ahead and get things started here. I kind of wanted to talk about this a little bit last time briefly, because I didn't get a chance to... I felt like I wanted to mention something about this, and I was making a lot of references to this, and including in this video by saying DDD coming at ya. I've talked about this so many times for pretty much the duration of my entire YouTube channel career here. Some of you may know this, but I am a really big fan of the Kirby Right Back At Ya anime slash animated series slash cartoon, whatever you want to really call that show. I have been a fan of that show since... not since it first came out, really, but for a very long time. I remember... like, I kind of want to just spend a video or something talking about kind of my experiences with this, because recently, I think in between the last video and this one, they held the Kirby experience, like, Kirby 30... what was it? The 30th anniversary concert experience, I think was what it was called. And there was some really exciting news regarding Kirby Right Back At Ya. And that news was that it was going to be getting a Blu-ray re-release. Now, I say that, but it was also apparently just the Japanese version of that show that got the announcement, which made sense because it was a Japanese concert, so, like, I wasn't initially bummed by that part of it, but I'm like, please just put the entire show, like, in the West. Like, even if they put it on Netflix or something, I wouldn't complain too much, but like, that show has never fully been available. Like, it's never been fully available in Japan either for, like, release or anything like that, and I'm like, can they just please release that show? So, for context here, here's just a brief history with my experiences with this show here. So, I first heard of Kirby because of Super Smash Bros., and I'll admit, I had no idea who he was when I first played that game. I didn't know who anyone that wasn't a Mario character was when I first played Super Smash Bros. On the N64. And anyways, I remember some odd year or two later, maybe a couple months later, I don't actually remember this detail, but I remember going to Wendy's as a kid, and I saw they had Kirby toys there. And I'm gonna provide some images from, like, Google Images here of what some of the toys were, and I kind of quickly learned that, like, I guess, like, that's where I kind of would have first heard about Kirby as, like, a franchise would have been from, of all places, from Wendy's Toys. They were promoting Kirby Right Back At Ya at the time, and this was sometime in 2003, I think it would have been, and I remember... I don't actually remember how I first, like, discovered the show. It was just something I caught randomly on TV one time, I guess. I don't remember why, but, like, I ended up watching it, and kind of just ended up becoming a fan regardless. I remember, and this is a weird episode to start with, I remember the first episode I ever saw was an episode called Delivery Dilemma, and that episode is good. In fact, I don't know why I remember that one specifically being the first one I ever saw, but it may have had some credence as to what became my favorite Kirby copy ability, which is the Jet ability, which is not in this game, but it is in the sequel, Kirby Planet Robobot, and that is amazing. Anyways, so I ended up just starting to watch the show quite a lot at that point, and I remember 4Kids did this, or, well, it was Foxbox at the time, but, like, 4Kids, they did this weird thing where eventually, like, after that episode, I felt like they just re-aired a much earlier episode after that. Like, the next week I remember watching was the episode Monster Management, I think is what it's called, which is, for context, Delivery Dilemma is, like, episode, I think, 68 of the show, maybe. Delivery Dilemma's that. Monster Management, I think, is episode, like, 40 or 41 or 39 or something like that. So, not 39. I think it's, like, 40 or 41. Anyway, though, you can see what I mean. They jumped back a lot. I was, like, 6 at the time, so I didn't really know or care, like, what episode was currently on. I didn't know they were following some sort of, like, set, like, storyline with that, because that Monster Management is the second Knuckle Joe episode, and it does make reference to, like, the first Knuckle Joe episode, but I wouldn't have known about that sort of thing as a kid. And then at that point, I felt like for the next, I don't know, like, dozen or so episodes, they actually started playing it more in order at the time, but at that point, that was when they got me. I was already a big fan of the show. Like, I would watch that show every Saturday morning when it was on the Foxbox. And if it wasn't on Foxbox, I remember being very disappointed, because they did take it out of circulation every now and again, and, I remember the days when they would advertise certain things as being, like, new episodes, or I just cared what was a new copy ability in those days, because, like, the anime is a very weird show. It has a lot of very random out of context moments. If you've ever, like, get a chance, I think there is a Twitter account called, like, Kirby out of context or something like that. And there's some really off-the-wall random things. You can also probably find a couple of YouTube videos of that as well that are just random, like, stupid moments that make me laugh now that I probably wouldn't have laughed at much as a kid. Oh, shoot, don't kill me. But yeah, that show is really off-the-wall random sometimes. Like, to put in perspective of how weird this show is, the very first episode of Kirby Right Back At Ya, the very first moment in the show starts off with sheep genocide. So, yeah, let that sink in for how weird that show gets. But yeah, so I was a fan of the show pretty much all the way through until, like, it ended. I remember a lot of the times I had seen certain episodes. I remember there was one episode that parodied Jurassic Park, which was, the whole show had a lot of funny, like, movie references and movie parodies and whatnot. Like, they had episodes that spoofed Jurassic Park, there was one that spoofed King Kong, there was an episode that spoofed Mothra that I remember being very disappointed with, because it's a kaiju monster spoof in a show that has a lot of epic battles, and yet there wasn't really much of a battle in that one. I remember thinking that was, like, the weirdest thing. I as a kid, I never really knew it was a Mothra thing, but, like, as an adult, I look back and I'm like, why was there not at least, like, some sort of battle here. So, okay, here's, I'm gonna quickly interrupt this here. Here's an example of needing the aimer thing there for DDD's hammer, but it's all good. So, yeah, I remember one time we were getting, like, a new television at the time. This must have been when we got our new, like, a new television one time. I remember having to watch one of the Jurassic Park episodes in the basement on, like, our old TV, but I still just remember that, like, imagery really well. To give an idea of what the Kirby Right Back At Ya show's about, in case anyone is interested, it's basically Kirby is a warp star, or like a Star Warrior who gets awoken up like a couple hundred years early because his warp star machine, it's not like the warp star, but it's powered by it. It's like a spacecraft that he's riding in. It gets interrupted because they sense that there's monsters in trouble in Dreamland, which is basically run by King Dedede, and he has an anime-exclusive apprentice in that show named Escargoon, who's just... he's basically he's a snail that's... to best compare this character dynamic, he's basically... They have a very Smithers and Mr. Burns dynamic, and it's not going to be the only time I make a Simpsons comparison here. And so Kirby crash lands, and he gets... He meets these two characters named Tiff and Tuff, who are, for lack of a better term, also just Bart and Lisa Simpson, in, like, almost to a T. And they basically just do some everyday adventures together. Like, the show itself does have a big focus on battling monsters. Usually Dedede orders a monster from... he has this monster delivery service called Nightmare Enterprises. And the sales guy, he buys monsters from all the time. Basically just to get rid of Kirby, and Dedede isn't really a good guy in that, but he does sometimes, very rarely show his softer side. That he's... Dedede does always try to get rid of Kirby, but eventually it's revealed that he's just really jealous, and eventually just learns to view Kirby as a really good rival. Because every monster, no matter how big, tough, or powerful Dedede ends up getting, most of them fall victim to Kirby very, 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 very easily. Because Kirby's copy ability is really, really powerful. And there's also, like, a Spanish Meta Knight and just a lot of crazy things in that show. I'm briefly summing it up here, but it is one of my favorite shows of all time. Like, not even just of cartoons or animation or anime or video game shows or anything. It is legitimately a show I go back to very, very often. I remember... I think this was after I finished first grade. Hi, Krakow DX here, by the way. That is a fast attack there, wow. I remember after I finished first grade, my aunt got me... I don't know where I would have heard about this from. Maybe there was an advertisement for it, but Kirby always, like, there were some, like, limited, like, DVD sets that they produced at the time. And I think Funimation, of all companies, actually, like, distributed those. Not that they were any, like, it wasn't like it was an uncensored version or anything like that, because it's Kirby, but I think Funimation just had, like, the distribution rights for a few DVDs. And my aunt ordered me one of those for finishing grade 1, I think, at the time. So yeah, I was already a fan, I guess, by grade 1 at the time anyway. And shoot. Oh, crap. Crap! Ow. Can that lightning, like, wear off, please? Thank you. So those 12 minutes were me just rambling about one of my favorite shows, and I'm gonna continue doing that here. We got Cook Kirby, which... Wait. Why is it called Chef Kirby? That is not its name. It's Cook Kirby. I am very perplexed by this. I will make another random anime comment. A lot of episodes are about food. And, as a result, this is actually the second most common ability in the entire anime, despite it being very rare and elusive in the games. Got Gobbler, which we already had, apparently. Okay. Oh, great. Wild World. This is gonna be where this is gonna start getting very, very rough here. But yeah, I legitimately love Kirby Right Back At Ya as a show. I was starting to say that my favorite episode of the show is... Or actually, not my favorite anymore, but one that I do still have a lot of appreciation for. It's one that's called Delivery Dilemma. Which... Basic idea of that one is that, in the show, Chef Kawasaki, who's a recurring character in the Kirby series, who gives the cook ability, in the show, he's not, like, a monster or a bad guy or anything like that. He's just a guy who really badly runs a shop that no one likes, and despite it being the only, like, restaurant in Cappytown. Oh, shoot. No, don't get horned. Can I, like... get rid of this guy here, please, before it becomes a nuisance? Oh, not the horn. Get out of here. This is on a time limit here. There we go. But yeah, so... in that episode, he sets up a delivery service, which is just... the kids of the show, like, Tiff, Tuff, and a few of their friends, like, wanting to help out, the restaurant and whatnot, and Dedede ends up, like, catching wind of this, and he tries to order noodles from that, and because of some hijinks that happen, Kirby ends up being the one who has to deliver the food, which does mess with his temptation a lot, because he just wants nothing to do but to eat the noodles, basically, the whole time. And, yeah, it's a pretty clear struggle of Kirby trying to do that, to the point where Dedede eventually just orders a delivery monster to try and get that. And, anyways... I think what I like about that episode is just the fact that that episode features my favorite ability in the series, which is Jet Kirby. I just think the Jet ability is such a cool power-up. It's only in the Superstar games and Planet Robobot, and that's it. And I think that is a crying shame, because it's... That was, like, legitimately the thing I liked about Robobot the most, was that it brought that ability back. Like, honestly, I want to play that game again sometime, but I know when I played it, when Planet Robobot first came out, that was pretty much why I used it, or the main ability I used for most of that game. Anyways. I just like Kirby Right Back At Ya, man. If you get a chance to check it out, I would recommend it. Though, the thing is that it's kind of difficult to find legitimately. I can't really say to point in one source, like, one way or the other. If this was, like, the old days, I may have done that, but, like, I've since kind of learned, maybe I shouldn't share a link to, like, a bootleg of a site. I know it used to be on YouTube years ago, and honestly, I watched the entire thing on YouTube with some friends a few years ago, and I have no shame in saying that, because it hasn't been available for a very long time. Like, I remember I watched, like, a fair bit of it when it first was in, like, the early days of YouTube, because... Oh god, how did this happen here? I remember the show used to be available in, like... There was a channel on the Wii in Europe that had a lot of the episodes on it. Like, an actual, like, Wii channel that just had the broadcasting of... I think, like, the first half of the show. And those re-uploads got uploaded after a while, but then... That was only in Europe, so I never got to experience that side of things. That honestly feels like it's a fever dream that even would have happened. But... Also, I don't remember this room even existing at all here. There's definitely something down here. What is this? Oh, okay, you just can't access this as DD at all. I guess that makes sense, because that's a room designed for real Kirby there. But, yeah, so... I remember the days back when some episodes were easy to find in, like, the late 2000s, early 2010s, and that was kind of when I started getting kind of back into the show, was, like, 2010 or 11-ish. There was times where, like, there was a time where I kind of stopped watching it for a while, and then I got back into it, and then 2011-ish, I think I discovered some different channels that had, like, more episodes that I hadn't seen in a long time, and whatnot. And then I remember in 2012, they released Kirby's Dream Collection on the Wii, and that actually had 3 episodes in it, and one of them, well, the 3 episodes in that were the first episode, which makes sense. They had an episode called Crusade for the Blade, which is honestly one of the top 3 episodes of the entire show. It is, like, in every word, an amazing episode. It just features a really badass, like, character of the day that... I don't know if it's fair to call the character in that a character of the day when she reappeared in, like, the finale, but that obviously was the finale. Anyways, and the 3rd episode that was in there at the time, that was one called Waddle While You Work. And that one actually didn't, like, wasn't really available online at the time. So that one was, like, the first time we had seen that one in a very, very, very long time. I just remember when these kinds of things happened in those days. That was kind of part of what was fun about trying to discover those episodes back in those days. Like, I'd seen them on the TV when they aired, but I didn't see them in, like, a really, really long time by that point. Also, funny enough, wasn't I talking about Kirby Right Back At Ya in this level the last time I played it? I genuinely love Kirby Right Back At Ya as a show. I just wish it was, like, more accessible, easy to watch. I was, because I was making references to the Mummy's Madness episode. I had a dime for every time I reference Kirby Right Back At Ya in this level. Well, I'd only have 2 dimes, but it's kind of funny that it happened more than once. So yeah, that was kind of just some of my history with that show there. And I remember in 2013, that was kind of when there was this other guy on YouTube that was like, hey, I have all these VHS recordings of, like, the episodes that have been, like, missing for a really, really long time. And that was kind of, like, a big deal when those were all uploaded at that time. I think the entire Japanese show wasn't that hard to find at the time, which... I should just give a thing to say this, like... I probably wouldn't have anything against the Japanese dub now, but... I know there's... This is just an anime thing in general, but there's always, like, a weird, like... dub versus sub debate with, like, every anime, and Kirby's no different. They made a lot of weird changes with it sometimes. Some I understand, though, like, if people are really, really, like, mad about them changing the episode Tuned Out, which involved a bunch of perverted otakus making a anime, in air quotations, about a young child. Oh, jeez, these snakes. Ugh. Yeah, that is easily the weirdest episode of the show. One of them, anyway. The thing is, I actually like the other parts of that episode, because it's a good spoof on, like, them using CGI to produce cartoons faster and stuff like that. I legitimately like those aspects of the show a lot. But, I don't know. I digress, I guess. Anyways, so yeah, around 2013, I remember being really excited because a lot of those episodes were kind of found again. And then I remember the entire show was on YouTube for a time. Like quite a long time, actually. It was probably until, like, 2020, maybe, I think, when Nintendo finally, like, started really cracking down on copyright. I think they were saying they were trying to get... I think the guy who had them uploaded was saying Nintendo was on his ass a lot of the time, but, like, he was... like... I don't know. It was a really weird era in time anyway, but... yeah, so... at this point, the Japanese version of the anime is set to get a Blu-ray re-release, which I'm like, can this please come out in the West as well? It's hard to say whether or not it would or not. Some people think it might be a 4Kids thing, to which I say... I don't think it would be, because Pokemon is on DVD, and I think even Blu-ray in some seasons as well. And Yu-Gi-Oh! And Sonic X have seen full DVD releases as well. I'm pretty sure, like Pokemon, I think Nintendo does own the full rights to the Kirby anime as well. I remember looking this up one time, and I'm pretty sure the Kirby's Dream Collection only credited Nintendo for the show and not 4Kids at all, hardly. Besides, like, what's in the credits of, like, the normal episode. Like, the normal episode credits, I think. So, yeah. I've been talking about this entire episode, and if you've been keeping up with me this whole time, I thank you a lot. I could probably go into a lot more of an in-depth episode analyses on, like, the entire show if I really wanted to, like, what are some of my favorite episodes, like, what are some of my favorite, like, battle scenes, because the entire show basically is very slice of life, but usually by the end of most episodes, not all, but most, they have some sort of monster sequence. It gets it does get very Monster of the Week. But I think what I like about Kirby for that is that he has different copy abilities that do often make each of the monsters unique. But yeah, I guess to continue briefly talking about Kirby, I think one of the things I just genuinely like about the show is that it has probably my favorite, like, voice roles for certain characters, in particular King Dedede and Meta Knight. DDD is voiced by Ted Lewis, as is Escargoon, actually, which is kind of funny that both of them have the same voice actor. You may know Ted Lewis best as, well, I'd say as DDD myself, but he's also Tracy Sketchit on Pokemon, as well as Giovanni, actually, on Pokemon as well. And he also voiced Bakura and Yami Bakura on Yu-Gi-Oh! I found out recently, which kind of made me realize that he's just voiced a lot of villains, apparently. I've just come to realize Giovanni, Bakura, and Dedede, like, alright. But Dedede, like, Ted Lewis's Dedede is easily, I think, my favorite portrayal of the character. With all respect to Masahiro Sakurai, like, there's something that's just so ham about Ted Lewis's Dedede that is just impossible to not enjoy. And Meta Knight is also... I said that Meta Knight is Spanish in the anime, but he's actually voiced by none other than Eric Stewart, whom you may know best as the voice of Brock and James in Pokemon, as well as Seto Kaiba in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I was just kind of a moron when I was a kid, not knowing about voice actors, and not knowing that different characters were often voiced by, like, some of the same people here. I don't know how the hell I never realized Brock and Kaiba didn't have the same voice actor, but I guess I'm not too surprised in realizing that Meta Knight was, like, I wouldn't have probably guessed Meta Knight was the same person either. Anyways, we got Coily Rattler Deluxe. This is gonna be kind of a difficult fight here too. Though I do think Hammer is probably a good ability for this fight here, I think. Sorry, I'm just getting a little quiet there, because that fight was kind of requiring it there. Anyways, we got through Stage 4 of Dedede Tour, and it's only going to get a lot longer from here, so get comfortable here. You would think if we could finish this off next time, that would be good. We shall see. All that being said, genuinely, thank you everyone for watching this video. It's probably going to be a lot of fun to put this one together, talking about Kirby right back at you so much, but yeah. Thanks everyone for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic day. I don't know why I'm sounding like some Call Me Johnny saying this, but have a great day, everyone. Peace out.